Hello, I'm Megan Taylor, and I'm here to talk about people that might be suffering right now. And I've made a couple of videos, and I suffered terribly from Tourette syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder that is very severe. And I've also had lots of experience with different sorts of mental illness because when I was a teenager, I also had a severe episode when I was about 16, 17 with severe depression. Didn't feel like I could live. I felt isolated from the world, and I felt like um, I didn't want to die. But I felt like I was so out of it. I couldn't think. I was so not go with any friends. I felt there was so much better than me that I never fit in, and I felt lost and had no identity. And I broke down with my dad. I went to the hospital for weeks, and I couldn't cry, and I just felt so lost. And that's when the Tourette syndrome kind of was starting around 16. And it's like blinking eyes, I was going like this, and having a little bit of nervous tics, but it wasn't too bad yet. Um, but I remember feeling so alone. So I want to reach out to kids, especially kids that have Tourette syndrome. And I've heard, I don't know, I'm not very educated about it, but I've heard a lot of times Tourette syndrome, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder goes together. And it can cause so many strange behaviors that people think that they're just behaviors, and really someone has an illness, whether it be Tourette syndrome, which is neurological illness, and OCD is a mental illness. And I just want to reach out to kids so much because kids not alone, and if there's so much in society that's so they stigmatize mental illness. Being around it since I was a teenager, through the years I've had multiple episodes of severe depression. I had to go to the emergency room, and I've had to be hospitalized. And in my early 20s is when the Tourette syndrome and the OCD really hit a peak, about 20. And it was terrifying. So I just want to reach out to anyone that's having that right now, that um, it's not your fault. Even if you might have be acting out in some ways to try to avoid the pain, you know, substance abuse, doing drugs, there's always hope. That I just want you to know they're not alone because, I hit 20 years old and my chest started getting really bad, and I actually didn't know what it was. And this is what church is like for me. When I have my movement, it's been made famous in Hollywood for the very rare occasion. About 5% of people with Tourette syndrome have the cussing over and over again. That's actually very rare and a really sad symptom of people that have it. But a lot of people have noises they make, coughing sounds. They might blurt out words or repeat people's words, and mostly it's physical tics that can somewhat be controlled. You can kind of control it, but it's very difficult. But when I have my Tourette syndrome, I'm gonna show you what it looks like, and it's not pretty, and I don't like it. But you know what? We all have things that sometime in our life, when we're young or when we're old, that are not going to be very pretty. And I just want people to see what I go through, and maybe someone else has advice for me, or they're going through the same thing. So when I have my tricks, I like go. And sometimes I can kind of control it, and I might, with the movement, for some reason with me, I always have the obsessive compulsive disorder thoughts. And for me, it's mostly thoughts. Some people have to check, doors, or they have to check, um, make sure the stove is off a certain amount of times, or they have to wash their hands, and if you come out in a lot of different ways, all those ways, people feel trapped and a lot of times just completely desperate. And I mean, when this episode that I just had a week and a half ago, I never had before. It was 3 days straight, no sleep, and having those movements and excessive thoughts that I couldn't get out. I felt like I had to feel a certain way before I could stop, and I couldn't. And there's so much adrenaline rushing through my body. I was shaking so much, and all these chemicals are going in your brain. You can't just snap out of it. It takes time and distraction and learning like coping skills to distract yourself and try to calm your mind and get out of it. But basically, this time I couldn't for 3 days, and I had to go to the hospital, and it was really hard, and I felt really alone. And what's so hard is that people with mental illness, all different types of mental illness, whether it be obsessive compulsive disorder, severe depression, um, people have schizophrenia, which is very hard to treat, but it is so misunderstood. Most everyone doesn't understand mental illness. Most everyone with all types of mental illness are very gentle using people. Even people with schizophrenia that have thoughts of hurting people or anything, they're actually would never act on it. The majority are it's nothing they're not to be afraid of. They are to be cared for, and they're very humble people. I'm actually, after I went through this episode that was horrible for me, I have been in a treatment program here in Hawaii that's every day from 9 till 2 with the mental health treatment there. You have classes, you learn coping skills, you have support from each other from there's maybe 20 people in your class that have just their own kind of mental illness, and some are more severe and some are less, but each one is hard for that person. And you can see that people all want to help, and even and what's the most surprising, the people that are maybe the most severely ill and the most loving. They're so humble. It's, it's inspiring. It really is, and they're like angels. They're like angels, and so the stigma of mental illness is not their fault. They can't snap out of it. You need treatment, and like with OCD with me, I just have thoughts. I don't have to physical washing hands or checking things, but I have the movement, and that's kind of like compulsion for me. And it can get really violent, and I just, after the third day when I was got getting hysterical, but it got better. Things will get better, even if it feels like it will never end, because I've had ups and downs. I've had mental illness from 17 and I'm in my 30s off and on. It's something lifelong that I've dealt with, that I've been around a lot, and there's lots of help out there. You have to reach out for help because God loves you. No matter if you've done anything wrong, whether you've been horrible to your family or you've committed a crime, if you've had traumatic things in life or mental illness, it can affect your behavior, and there is help. And please, like anybody, children that get made fun of, because a lot of times Tourette syndrome happens with small children, that's around 6 or 7, and they have different movements and they can't just stand. They get made fun of, and they're wonderful, such adorable kids, and I just want them to know that they have such a wonderful life ahead of them because they're going to be so smart, and there's so many medical professionals out there to help you. And um, there's only a small amount of people that are mentally ill that are dangerous. So please understand people that even if you feel bad feelings, you're good inside. And there's so many people that have just like you, the same, similar symptoms. And I just would like to reach out to people, and maybe they have advice for me, or they've gone through something I haven't gone through, and we help each other.